Hi, this is a brief overview of vSee and how to use vSee and some of the basic features of it. vSee is the platform with which we will deliver telehealth services. Think of it like a Zoom or a Doximity. Other things get used in other places. And what vSee does is it helps us be able to see and hear our patients so that we can have telehealth services. So first off, you're going to need to log in. You're going to keep hearing a little dingy noise in the background. That's because I have some patients in my waiting room, and that dingy noise is going to keep happening until I dismiss the dingy noise. But I'm going to let it ding just to kind of let you know what it looks like and sounds like. There it is. So there's kind of two things you need to know about vSee up front. First, there's a website to be able to access some of the more administrative features of vSee. You don't have to have the website, but sometimes the website can be really helpful. If you're going to be logging in Florida, it is myflbh.vc.me. In Georgia, it's mygbhp.vc.me. And in Tennessee, it's healthymind.vc.me. Since I'm in Florida, I'm going to log into my account real quick, and I'm going to show you some of the features. As you can see, I have a couple of patients waiting in my room that we'll get to in just a minute. First off, I want to draw your attention to this upper right-hand corner. If you click on your name, it should give you, well, it's not letting me do it right now. Welcome to vSee. Sometimes it doesn't want to work so good. So let me refresh my screen, see if that helps me out here. And if I come to my clinic section, my clinic is not necessarily your LifeStance clinic, but it's your own like personal waiting room. So if I click on my clinic, there's just one or two things I want to show you here. One is you can find your actual room code, the room ID. Your patients will get a different app than what you have. Their app is called vSee Clinic. Your app is called vSee Messenger. But when they'll ask them for a room code, that is the room code to get to you. One thing that we have seen some troubles with is every once in a while we'll have prescribers that say, hey, my patients say I'm not here. Sometimes this little button is clicked, and if you are seeing a 6 o'clock patient and they logged in at 5:01 instead of 5 o'clock, on their side it's going to show, hey, this provider's not available. So it should be defaulted to say open all the time, but just something to kind of check to pay attention to. I want to draw your attention back into the dashboard. There's a little blue button at the top that says invite patient. If you wanted to send an email, if you had the patient's email address, they say, hey, I don't know where I'm at, or I need to send somebody else into the room, that you can send an email here. But what I really like about this page is this little spot right here where it lets you be able to know the actual link to get to you directly. Being able to send that to a patient or have that available for a patient, sometimes that's just really good information to know. So when it comes time to actually start the session, most of the time you won't be accessing your sessions from the website. You're going to be accessing them from the from the application. But I want to show you what it looks like should you go through the application. Right now, it's kind of calling me for some sort of action. I can send a message to the patients, but I do want to caution you that if you're going to send messages to patients, you got to be really careful with that, because if the patient responds back with something of a crisis nature or a suicidal nature, in theory, in technicality, you have initiated service to some degree with that patient. Patients cannot send us messages until we initially send them a message first. So it's best to have your admin reach out and talk to somebody if that's something that they're trying to, if they just don't recognize the patient or they're in the wrong spot. If I use this button, I'm using it for my established existing patients that maybe I'm running a minute or two late and they're already in the room. I'm going to send them a quick message to say, hey, I'm just running a few minutes late. So I'm going to hit the button that says call. And what it's going to do is it's actually going to ask me to open my vSee app. If I don't have the app downloaded, it's going to prompt me to be able to download that app. But I'm going to click the open app, and it's going to go directly into the session. Now, if I have the application open and I want to bring that application up just to kind of show you what it looks like, that application would look a little bit like this. And right now, I'll get rid of these guys that was old. Right now, you see that it tells me I'm in the waiting room, but I'm actually visiting with Wonder Woman, and it also tells me that I have Mr. M&M Man here. In the new feature, the new version of vSee, once you actually start once you actually start a conversation, it'll automatically dismiss that little ding button. Otherwise, there's going to be a big bar at the top here that says, that you can dismiss. There's somebody in your waiting room, and it's just going to keep dinging like it did for me until I actually see somebody. So one thing real quick is there's this little button right here that is a little pin. And if I click on this button, it's always on top. So no matter what I click on in the background, it's going to always keep that on top. If I don't like that, I can unpin that. Then if I click on something else, it's going to go away. It's going to, it'll just go to the background like any other window. So I kind of want to bring in the other person in the room because I want to show you that you can have more than one person in a vSee meeting. This becomes really helpful if, for instance, you're counseling with adolescents and a parent needs to be seen from one spot or the other, or you're dealing with couples and they need to work through things. You can see I got Mr. M&M Man up here and I got Wonder Woman down here. So a couple of features real quick about this particular setup is if you bring your cursor over an image, you'll see that I get a little bit of options here. One is I can raise and lower volume. So if Mr. M&M Man is really loud, but Miss Wonder Woman is really soft, I can turn her up or turn her down, turn him up, turn him down. And that's the same thing if you're in an individual session, if you need to get more volume out of somebody, they're further away from the microphone. That's kind of how that works. So if you see that there's a couple of places where you have some dots. There's also a dot down here that's different from this dot. So if I'm on this dot and I click on it, one of the things, either I can mute the patient altogether or I can pop them out. What pop out means is it just basically takes their picture out of this window. One of the things that I really like to do is put that window right next to my camera. That way, when I'm looking at the patient, it looks like I'm making eye contact. If I have this patient way over to the other side of my screen, I might be staring directly at them, but from the patient's perspective, it looks like I'm just staring off into space. You can do this for your other patient as well. Pop them out. You can pop yourself out. You get a little button there, and then you can sort of put you wherever you want to. Like I say, I like to keep my patients really close to my actual camera. I make them kind of small. And then what I like to do is if I'm working in a one screen environment, especially if I hit this little always on top button, then I can come back here. And if I wanted to work on EHR type stuff, I can have EHR stuff going in the background. I can be typing and working on my computer and doing other things while they're always on top and I'm paying attention. I say other things, I mean other things related to the visit, not necessarily, watching Netflix on the side. So if you want everybody to get back in, you hit this little button and tell it to snap back in. Same here, snap back in. Same here, I can snap back in. So one other feature I'd like to be able to show you before we set out for today is if I have this particular screen open, you can see that if I wanted to, I'll come back here to this screen. I can click here and it'll give me the opportunity to, on the share button, to actually share my screen. You can also see that if I'm in this particular window, I can click this little green button and it will share that particular window. And what will happen is the patients on the other side will see that window. It'll put their stuff all to one side, but on their screen, instead of just seeing my face, they see this window. So I can go over things with them and talk through things with them. It'll give me the opportunity if I want to, really draw attention to something, I can circle it and say, hey, look at that. I can clear that out. If I need to write some text, press here or whatever it might be to show them what I'm kind of talking about. And then I click this little button. I can either unshare it by clicking the little tab at the top, or I can come back to this guy and under screen share, I can tell it to, hide it or do whatever. So it's just easy to click that button. And then I'm back to normal, unsharing my screen. If I do need to send a chat, I can, especially in a group setting, I can hit this button and I can chat to that person individually, or I can hit this larger button and I can chat to the rest of the group. So a couple of features of vSee. One thing that we've noted that is if you're seeing more than one person and I log out early, earlier versions of this app gave them the potential to carry on the conversation. That's not always the healthiest thing. So I just like to make sure I'm the last person to leave the room. Let's say Mr. M&M Man gets a little bit too out of line. I can actually remove him from the meeting. If I remove M&M, he goes away and I can continue on the session with Wonder Woman. And when you're in just a one-on-one session, if you end the meeting, it ends it on their side. Also, if you do anything in the chat box, when you end the meeting, the chat box goes away as well. So hope this helps give you a little bit of overview of vSee. And if I have any questions, let us know.